up, you guys? This is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on the Daily Grind, we're going to be doing a little bit of playtesting with the new primed Bane mod. Now, I recently discovered that I was running a really real build on my HEMA. I don't really know if maybe it was just leftovers and I accidentally slotted in the wrong thing, and it just kind of stuck there. But I realized I had an open space and I was like, oh my god, this would be perfect to test Prime Bane of Corrupted on. And I was also playing around with a couple things on my Rock to Ceranos, and I was kind of looking at it and I was like, alright, so which one of these is going to be more worthwhile? Prime Bane of Corrupted or Bladed Rounds? So I wanted to go ahead and do those tests today. However, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. I did do an in-depth primed Bane mod versus other mods, and like when you should be using primed Bane mods, and I'll go ahead and leave that up here. I'll put a card somewhere up here, if I remember. I'll probably remember, I got this. But I actually wanted to show you some of the numbers off of this and kind of give you a heads up of where it functions well in, and also kind of, you know, do a little bit of playtesting for myself. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, I'm going to be using Stormbringer straight out of the gate. This is actually Shred, so ignore that space. It's just that I didn't quite have the mod space, but I did want to show you the damage numbers to kind of keep it even off the bat. Now, of course, we've got our full elemental suite here. Not really full elemental suite. We're just really pumping in some corrosive, and I've got some fire damage from my Riven. But as you can see here, I could go with Stormbringer, I could go with Prime Bane of Corrupted, or I could toss in something else. Now, some people are kind of fond of putting heavy caliber on this weapon, but it's the HEMA, and I want headshots, and I want the healing from the headshots, so I kind of don't necessarily want to lessen its accuracy, but that's my personal preference. You guys, you do you. But as you can see right here, let me go ahead and do another shot for you. I'm trying to get a headshot real fast because that's what I've calculated numbers on. It is doing 1,658 for the headshots. So you guys can see that it's a repeat constantly. Well, let's go over here. You can see it better. There you go, 1,658. So that is how much it does with a 90% elemental mod. Now, of course, for those of you guys who know kind of like the statistics, elemental mod kind of does an over-the-top thing that works off of the Bane mod, that works off of the base mods. However, the primed Bane mods almost act as another base mod for everything else to work on top of. So if we go ahead and replace that with primed Bane of Corrupted, so again, we were doing 1,658, and I'm not even going to switch up the enemies, I'm just going to leave the enemies as they are. Now if we go ahead and let's see what we're doing here, and as you can tell, we are doing 1,957, so it's better for us to go ahead and go with the primed Bane mod instead of the 90% elemental. And that's just because of the fact that even though it looks like, you know, especially for newer players, they're going to see 55% as opposed to 90%, I'm going to go ahead and take the 90% instead. But due to the fact that the primed Bane mod acts basically like a serration against the enemies of that faction, this actually ends up working out to be more of a damage buff than the actual 90% elemental mod. And the one thing to keep in mind is I use the 90% elemental mod that actually gets that 75% bonus against those enemies. So we're like testing out against the best of the best. Now, I did want to show you something weird that I ran into when I was doing my test. It's really weird because off the top of my head, the math shouldn't work the way that it works, and it kind of bothers me a little bit, and I'm going to show you with my Rock to Ceranos. So as you can see, let's actually take that out and we'll go ahead and toss in Bladed Rounds first. Now with Bladed Rounds actually, I want to say it outperforms it, but it's very, very strange because it kind of does and it kind of doesn't, which is strange enough. So if you see, that wasn't a headshot. As much as we would like to think it was, it really wasn't. So actually you saw the two numbers there, as you can probably tell. So that's actually 127080. Okay, so remember that in your head. 127080 is the yellow crit. Now the yellow crit for the primed Bane mod is actually 127441. So the yellow crit is actually bigger on the Bane mod, but for some strange reason, the orange crit on the bladed rounds, well, I guess that makes sense because it's a multiplier and it kind of works off of that. So basically, the orange crits from the bladed rounds are better than the orange crits from the primed Bane mods, but at least you don't have to kind of aim down sights for them. The numbers are very, very similar, so part of me almost wants to go with primed Bane of Corrupted. So as you can see here, it is, that's not a headshot. It's 127080 for a yellow headshot. As we can see, it's consistent. Test for consistency. And then it's 244811, which is approximately, it's actually approximately 4,000 more damage. It's approximately 4,000 more damage when it comes to the Bane mod itself. However, you do have to be aiming down sights with the bow. Now, for the most part, I aim down sights with the bow. Like, that's just kind of like how I use the bow. You know, I want to be more accurate, so I'm constantly aiming down sights. It's not a headshot. 244811 is the headshot off of that. 244811 is the headshot. But the orange crits off of the bladed rounds is actually better than the primed Bane mod, but the yellow crits are better from the primed Bane of Corrupted. Now, the only thing that I'm going to say is, okay, with primed bladed rounds, with primed bladed, or not primed bladed rounds, but with bladed rounds, ooh, primed bladed rounds, that would be nice. With bladed rounds, you have to kill an enemy first. You have to get it to trigger first, and then you can go ahead and get the buffs off of it, and you have to be aiming down sights. So it is a little bit more restrictive in gameplay. So as you can see, the orange of that was 240398, which is 4,000 less than the bladed rounds one. So it's less on the orange crits, which I get fairly regularly, as you can tell with my Riven. My Riven does that, but it's 247441, which is more on the yellow crits. So, oh, that was handy. Thank you for the demonstration. And that's kind of like the weird space that I'm in when it comes to the Rock de Ceranos. I'm like, so either change, either change your Bane mod with each faction that you're taking on, which, you know, I'm really bad at changing elemental combos to begin with, so that might not be a thing. So either I do that, or I use bladed rounds and I'm forced to aim down sights. Either way, they're both very similar when it comes to damage numbers. However, I think that I will be tossing on that primed Bane mod when it comes to my HEMA, because you guys know how much I love that HEMA. However, the one thing that I do have to state, and I found this very interesting and something we'll probably jump into maybe like a further date, and maybe I'll just chat with you right now about this, is one of the issues that I had big time when I was actually looking up weapons to do this review with is I found that we had so many mods that worked really well now. Now, back in the day, as you guys know, I was a big advocate for the Bane mods. Like, if you watch those videos that I went ahead and linked to, and I'm probably going to go ahead and link in the end card as well, those videos all like said, hey, listen, these are like great splash damage mods. If you're looking for, you know, another something to replace your 90% elemental mods, take a look at this instead. Or if you're trying to replace some physical damage mods, you can look to this instead. And they were absolutely fantastic. But in this day and age, I'm actually finding more often than not, like one of the spaces that I actually had recently that I was thinking, I was like, oh, this would be great for me to use with the weapon is the Tigris Prime. I was like, I've got a free slot in that. I used to have a Fanged Fuselage in there. I can go ahead and toss that. But then I realized I have a Riven for that, by the way. Thank you to the person who donated it to me from Twitch. Freaking amazing. But yeah, I've got a Bane mod for that. So a part of me is a little bit like, all right, well, the Bane mod, or the Riven mod is going to be better than that Bane mod. So a part of me is like, all right, so I can't use it there. I was testing it against the Rock de Ceranos, which you guys saw. The numbers were so close, and the bladed rounds almost, well, does edge it out when it comes to the orange crits that it puts out. I was looking at my Siberis, I was like, where can I fit this primed Bane mods? And then I've got bladed rounds in there too, and I've got a Riven mod. So a part of me is like, we have so many good mods now that it's really hard to fit primed Bane of Corrupted anywhere. And before, I would use the Bane mods frequently when I remembered, on mods that needed it. But now we're getting all different mod types. We're getting a lot of different things that we can go ahead and put into the weapons, which I guess is good for variety's sake. But at the end of the day too, you guys know that I'm going to end up min-maxing those numbers, and I'm going to be like, alright, so when it comes to the Rock to Ceranos, which means more to me, bladed rounds or Prime Bane of Corrupted, right? So it's kind of like, it's gonna come down to like what's the most usable and what's gonna end up putting out the most damage in the end for my specific playstyle. And that's kind of like where it gets frustrating, because at the end of the day, there's just no room for the Bane mods anymore. And this is definitely something that I was thinking about when we were talking about Rivens, melee Rivens specifically, because when it comes to melee, there are so many gosh darn mods that literally you can't fit all of them into a single build anymore. There's great things, body count, blood rush, weeping wounds, there's the status elementals, there's life strike, there's primed reach, primed fury, berserker. There's just so many things that like you could put onto a melee weapon that a part of me thought in my head, I was like, where the hell am I gonna have room for a melee Riven mod? Like, it has to be the perfect melee Riven mod, and that's actually what happened with the Glaive Prime. I saw this Riven up for sale, and I was like, you know what? That would be a good Riven. As you can see right here, this is my throwing build, and you can see one big thing that's missing, and that's primed fury, right? And you know, so when I throw, it's like I've got my 55% attack speed, and I was just like thinking in my head, I was like, why would I ever need a Riven? And then I saw this Riven pop up, which is 66% attack speed, and then it's got the bonus of the critical chance. So part of me is like, well, I can replace Prime Fury with that, which is fantastic, but a part of me is also like, if it was not specifically that much more than Primed Fury, I would have never touched it. So, I mean, I know there's some niche builds. I know some people rocking like Zenistar with primed reach, and then they have a Riven that goes along with it with even more range. So, you know, if that's kind of like a thing, if you're kind of using a Riven to get an effect that you couldn't get from any other mods, then that's fantastic. But for the most part, for me, a lot of my builds are like ridiculously tight. I don't know where I could fit them anymore. So, I mean, the big question, I guess, that I want to end this in is, like, how many mods is too many mods? Like, how does that line up for us? What do you guys think? Do you think that we have now come to a point where we are so flooded with mods that we no longer have space or room for certain types of old mods? Because if you look at it, there are some mods that just don't get used as much anymore because of the fact that we have things like Rivens, because we have the Alkalite mods, and probably with things like Plane of Eidolon, we'll probably be getting more mods. As you guys saw, that we did have like a preview of set mods, which are, you know, from what we know straight out the gate, specifically like Warframe centric mods. However, who says that they won't end up doing something like that for weapons, or who said that it won't be like a Warframe set mod, a Warframe mod, along with a mod that fits into melee weapons, along with a mod that fits into secondary, and along with mods that fit into to your primary. So who says that the set mods won't be spread out that way? And in that case, then we're gonna have to make room for them if we want the set bonus effects. I don't know. It's a lot to think about. Let me know how you feel about us potentially having too many mods. And I think that that's where my brain is gonna stop. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and do we just have too many? Is that what it is? Can you have too many? Anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.